Here we are.
If anyone has something to comment on, please go up to the podium and state your name for the record.
Good evening.
You need to move that, sure.
Matt Crehan. I'd like to talk to you about an issue that's come up in the county of Muskegon. It's been simmering on the back burner, and it gets switched to the front burner and back to the back burner, but now it's on the front burner again. And what the county wants to do is build us a new jail, but they don't want us to vote on it. It's going to cost about $30 to $50 million to bond for it. Right now they're talking about a jail that's approximately 528 beds. And the whole discussion seems to be, whatever we do, let's not put this on the ballot so that people can vote on it. Let's do it underhandedly, behind the scenes, so we can we'll sell bonds for it. And people are going to end up with a new jail, whether they like it or not. Now, some history on the jail. Back in the late 80s, early 90s, we had about 250 beds. There was a lawsuit in 1992 where Kent County Jail decreed that we have to have 378 beds. So what the county commissioners did wisely at the time was convert the basement of the county building into jail space. We now run approximately 410 prisoners plus or minus at any one time. That pretty much works out just the way it should. The idea of coming up with 528 beds, and they want to be able to expand that to double the size at some times, so they can actually go to about 1,000. That's what they're thinking in the back of their minds. Is something that I find, and I would hope this board would find atrocious. Here's why. The people they're putting in jail, besides the people we expect in there for armed robbery, murder, B&E, things like that need to be in there for, are people that have suspended driver's licenses, people that don't pay child support, people that, not the driver of the car, but the passenger of the car that happens to have an open receptacle, and people that aren't threats to any of us. I always figured a jail should be somewhere that somebody goes when they're a threat to the community. They belong there then, and we're happy to go ahead and make sure there's a facility for them. But for some of these minor crimes, and some of the people in there right now, 65% of them, haven't even been found guilty of anything. I happened to be on the sheriff's website the other day, and just for random picks, I picked one name, what's he in there for? The guy was sentenced to jail for 90 days for possession of marijuana. Now, I don't know how you feel about it one way or the other, it's a crime, but 90 days? If you get on the sheriff's website and take a look at what people are in there for, and you have to go through about 400 of them, I'm sure you'll see people in there that don't belong, that you feel deep down don't belong in there, but nonetheless they're in there. So anyway, back to the county jail for the building of it. Last week in August, there was a meeting, a series of meetings that lasted 4 days in a row down at the Grand Valley Center. And there was a consultant that the county hired to go ahead and discuss plans for a new jail. 4 days of meetings, and what these guys came to the conclusion is, yeah, we need a new jail. But the guys coming to the conclusion are the architects and the engineers and the builders of the proposed new jail. They have a right to go ahead and bid on it. So of course they're going to go ahead and tell you need a new jail. It's kind of like you call some remodeling contractor to your house. He's going to tell you need new siding, new windows, et cetera, et cetera. Essentially, we need your help to go ahead and defeat this proposal. We have a website set up called derailthejail.org, and that has a lot more facts and figures than I can give you at any one meeting tonight. It's really, really important, whether you're pro-jail, anti-jail, that we all be given the right to vote on the matter. For the county to spend that much money, $30 to $50 million in bonds, translates to, well, guess what, folks? They're going to be calling the townships and saying, you know that service that we usually provide for you? We're going to have to start charging you for it now because we're not going to have the money. And if they happen to get the new jail, guess what comes with it? More staff. Regardless of how many inmates you have decides how much staff you have. So if they go from 411 to 528 inmates, they have to hire more employees. So you're either gonna have to cut employees somewhere else, but the next thing they're gonna do is come to us for a millage to support the jail. Essentially, they're gonna go ahead, hold the gun to our head, say, we got this jail, now we need the staff.
Mr. Crane, let me interrupt you for a second. What is the purpose of your comment tonight, I guess? Just to kind of inform us of this jail, or are you, I just don't see a direction that you're going in right now. Kind of
Just to go ahead and inform you what the county's doing.
Okay.
Because there has not been the publicity there should be on this issue. And in about, I'm going to say approximately 8 weeks from now, after the election, conveniently, this group that just made the presentation to us at Grand Valley is going to go ahead and make the presentation to the county board of commissioners and the jail committee. And they're going to say, look, this is what we found, this is what it's going to cost, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But as citizens, we need to decide whether we want one or not. And the thing that really, the ultimate reason for me to be here is it has to be put to a vote of the people. And everything that we're hearing from the county people is that we don't want to go ahead and put this to a vote. The sheriff himself said, I would rather bond for it than have the voters decide. It's too big a project for anybody but the voters to decide. And if you take some time, go on the sheriff's website, see the people that are in there, and then make up your own mind. Is it okay to put somebody in jail and put their bond artificially high so they can't make it when they're only in there for something like a minor offense that's not a threat to anybody? Could there be some conspiracy behind the scenes to artificially keep the jail numbers high, just so they can keep saying, hey, look, we're overcrowded? Well, if I'm a district judge and I go ahead and decide that I'm not going to give somebody a reasonable bond that's no threat to the community, and I go ahead and keep the bond level high, then they're going to stay in jail. And all of a sudden, we can keep reporting that we have to have early releases because of this. The whole thing is a manufactured controversy for something that we really don't need. So, anyway, thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks, we'll look into that.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Stephen Koppel. I live at Dump Site A on Strand Road. I'm here once again to ask the township for city water down my road with 3 toxic dump sites. Now, I've approached this board many times. It's been 11 years since the last time. Plenty of time for things to be done. I don't like being remembered and overlooked. People have died on my road. People will continue to die on my road. My granddaughter will probably never live to see 25. I need water. I need results. I need people that care. I need people that have a heart for the community, not people that suppress the truth and believe lies. Now, it's funny that Merle is here because he was the first supervisor I ever talked to. And he would talk to me. And then the next time I'd see him, he would lie to me. Just like that. Oh, I didn't have nothing to do with it. And then he retired. Then when I went to Rich Halpin, he got an education from Dalton Township and ended up leaving and going to Coopersville. He took my water sample to a place that is not authorized to do well water testing. So he left. The supervisor after him, he ended up with cancer. He was actually a relative by marriage. He never did anything either. That drinking fountain out there, I don't even know if there is one out there anymore. They shut that off after my first meeting. Somebody believes something. Not only are there 3 sites on my road, but there's a site 1 and 2. Not only that, there's the dual Garner landfill question. Was that really ever properly cleaned up? Now, my backyard was cleaned up by the chemical company that was blamed for causing the pollution. That's like giving Little Red Riding Hood to the wolf. They did a cleanup for 3 months. It was informed, it was rumored that there were still barrels and things out there and that there were so many, we'll just bury them up and overlook it. 11 years ago, when I tried to get water down the road, my chiefest opponent on the road, his daughter has now since died of brain cancer. Everybody on my road dies of cancer of one form or another. It's just a matter of time how your body reacts to toxins. And I think it is shameful that this township, when the money was put up for federal funds and state funds to bring water down my road, when it all started back in '79, that they would not put up their end of the bargain and would not hold their end of the bargain, so that's why there is no water. Now the Bowman's Club on a dirt road, they got water. They also told me you can't put water down a dirt road. It's not possible. They don't do that without improving the road first. So years ago I got the road to be paved. Then gas came down the road. Then finally actually cable had to come down the road. So we had a few little luxuries. Meanwhile, when I go back out into my unauthorized landfill that was abused for, well, decades, I've actually found illegal dumping since the turn of the century, and I'm talking 1900. So that place was always used as a junkyard. Now, I believe the junkyard that is across the street from me, that obviously will pollute groundwater, was brought in as a masking agent, so that eventually the groundwater would be poisoned by them. Now, years ago, I had $5,000 worth of water testing done in my backyard and proved a Class A carcinogen over the health limit, over the cleanup requirement. All that water table goes in the direction of Russell Road, where there are numerous brand new homes, and they are all in a suspect area. Now, years ago, 11 or so, the board agreed to test every home in a suspect area. And I called you on the phone about a year ago, and I asked you, what are the results of these tests? And you said, I don't even know nothing about it. Well, I don't know how you agree on something and then don't know anything about it. And I don't know how you remember me from 11 years ago and not think about it and want to do anything about it. In my book, that shows me that you're either part of the problem or part of the solution. And I'm looking for solutions, not more problems. And the facts are there. If you ever saw a test well dug in your yard and blood red foam come out of that test well with a stench that was unbelievable, that you have never smelled ever in your life, and then saw the water run blood red out of the ground, you might change your mind about how you feel about what's going on. You might change your mind when your kids are dying, when your neighbors die, when your family suffers. Now, after my granddaughter was poisoned at the age of 2 helping grandma do dishes, when she was 13, it was found that her thyroid was dead, and it had been dead for 2 years. She has about 5 different diseases, one of which they cannot identify. Well, she was poisoned by this water. She was taken to the hospital. When the doctor found out where it came from, he crossed it off his list, and he said, here's a prescription for cold. This will take care of it. That was her treatment. Now she has a disease where she might, well, the oldest survivor is 25. She's 17. And we haven't used that water. We don't touch that water. We don't mess with that water. I don't plant a garden. I don't ever plant much of anything except trees, and a lot of them die. Plants, those can die. Now, the DNR and the chemical company, they took hazardous waste from these sites and they dumped them in the White Lake landfill. somehow they missed 150 cubic yards of soil, and they cleaned that up.
How long ago was that, sir?
That was in '79.
Thank you.
And since '79, there has been an inability of Dalton Township to protect its citizens. There's been an inability of the state of Michigan to protect its citizens, and the county of Muskegon, and the county health department, and the Michigan health department, and the EPA, and the DNR, and the DEQ. Now, my backyard was set up for it to be a Superfund site. And it was denied because they said they couldn't find any contamination, but yet the contamination they did find must have been contaminated at the lab, because these are certain chemicals that you would find in a laboratory setting. Well, the same chemical that was supposedly contaminated was later confirmed. The drinking standard for this chemical is 0 to 0.006 milligrams or milliliters or whatever, millisomething per liter. 2 test wells showed a level of 8 and 9.04. I'd say that's a little bit high. Now, there's also another chemical that was found back there that when I brought it to the attention of people that put brand new home on top of dump site C 11 years ago, and the man came here and he threw him out at a meeting, out of his kitchen sink, he had various toxic chemicals coming out of an undeveloped well. His sewer had the wrong color of dirt. So the man who put the sewer in said he had to bring in his own fill sand. He's never done that before in his life, because there was just something not right. And I don't know if you'd like to drink toluene, trihalomethane, chloroform, bromoform, tetrahydrofuran, and I could name a few others. I don't know if you'd like that coming out of your kitchen sink, but I don't allow it coming out of mine. Now, the truth is, I really do not know the full extent of this contamination. But I know it is very widespread. I know the DNR is afraid. When the Dalton fire chief came out, when the man next to me was burning tires and trash heaped up to the ceiling, he tried to get the DNR to come out. They would not respond. I told him, he said the address. He goes, yes. And I said, well, you're just the Dalton Township fire chief. You don't need to know what's going on. Because they never responded. And he said they always respond. But not this time. It's because they have suppressed the truth since 1979 when they said that these sites were safe. Now, in the Cordova versus the United States, well, it was the United States government versus Cordova and the DNR, DEQ of Michigan, a federal judge ruled that they are responsible for any and all residue from the Oxstory site. That is one of the sites that was contaminated, that contaminated my backyard, along with Lakeway Beaufort's. Now, they were totally put to blame for that. But the one chemical in my backyard is exclusively made by DuPont. So that tells me, and it was rumored, that Muskegon Chemical was involved, that other chemical companies were involved. Now, I know if you get a guy to take away your hazardous waste on the cheap, you would probably spread the word quick, and all these folks would line up to say, here, come take away the barrels. Now, this man did it in Sullivan Road. He did it in the landfill by the college. He took them down the 2 tracks over there by the college. He dumped them in my backyard. He dumped them down the street. He dumped them all over the place. So this isn't just a Dalton Township issue. This is something that was very widespread. But the issue is that when water came to Dalton, it should have came to my house too. It should have been provided for it. You know, you have a KOA campground over here at risk. You have Lake Schneppehoe at risk. You have a lot of areas at risk. You have people on Russell Road at risk. You have people down my road at risk. You might even have people in this area at risk. I'm not really sure.
Mr. Koppel, Would you like the board,
I'd like
what kind of action would you like to see move forward from today's meeting?
I would like to see water come down, not only my road, but other roads. I would like to see a master plan to protect the citizens of this township. I don't want to have to run for office to get it done. I would like to believe that I can trust you people, that you have a heart for the community. Otherwise, you wouldn't be serving and doing what you're doing.
We'd certainly be interested in getting a petition to see the interest in getting water ran down there. if
Well, it's not
possible.
about interest. It's about protecting them whether they like it or not.
Well, all the residents can't afford to have the water run down there. We're going to end up in a situation where we did a few years ago with some Whitehall quarters, and you're going to force families out of their homes. They
Well, I
can't afford
think
to-
since 1979, the people, at least on my street, deserve free water for every year of neglect. That's what I believe, because in the end, the federal judge ruled that you can sue government for neglect in this situation.
What prevented, throughout the years, I'm sure you've taken different courses of action for anything like this. What has prevented the EPA or any agency from declaring any of these other sites a Superfund site?
Well, for one thing, in '79, the DNR declared the wells were safe, there was no source of contamination. They stood on that. But in 1980, there was a memo where a man requested the full results of what was going on because he could not determine if it was properly cleaned up or not. And if he cannot determine, because he wanted to know if you use water in a potable water situation, which is if you dug a hole and you got the water out and you used it for whatever purpose, would it be safe? He could not tell that from the results that they give him. So what was going on is they were shuffling the information on a need-to-know basis between themselves.
Well, with the test that you have done yourself, that should cause the EPA and other agencies concerned enough.
They told me the plastic cap on the glass jar water sample contaminated this water sample over the health limit, over the cleanup requirement.
But couldn't our own health department come in and take a
Our
sample
own health
themselves?
department is implicated with the DNR of Grand Rapids for taking this toxic waste and putting it in the White Lake landfill. They do not want to be associated with that.
Now, there's
The
other
person
people
that
there
came-
now, it's been 32 years. You would think-
Is Vicki Webster still part of the Muskegon Health Department? Yes. There you go.
But I also believe that when Supervisor Haldeman was here, they hired an independent
They took
laboratory test to do that.
Trace Analytical.
Yes.
They do not have the authority to test well water.
Is there a company out there that you're aware of that specializes in that testing?
I was thinking Grand Valley.
Michigan State or Grand Valley.
I mean, I would be more than happy to
That is
contact
what I
Grand
was
Valley
thinking was
and have them
to
do a test. They're local.
now, I believe they did a watershed survey on my area.
They did this entire area.
Yeah, Bear Lake. See, the chemicals from my backyard go into Bear Lake. You remember when Bear Lake was swimmer's itch? Don't go in there? Well, there was a reason. That's because the chemical companies funneled through the poison into Bear Lake, right past the old North Drive-In Theater, right through the celery flats, just like they did on Mona Lake, through the celery flats into Mona Lake. In 1975, 2 million gallons of toxic waste overflowed the dikes of Lakeway Bore Forest and flooded that area. In 1976, I picked celery in that area, and he sold it to a major soup company. Now, there are things that are beyond my control, but all I can do is appeal to your sense of humanity, basically, to do the things that are right. I mean, this is a long overdue, over-neglected thing. And when you go out and you love your, world, and you go out back and you see this nightmare in the soil. You cannot look anywhere without seeing glass, wires, styrofoam.
I walked your property with you quite a few years ago.
Anything and everything you can think of, because it was, I mean, all that in itself is very bad for the water table. But then when you dig out 255 chemical barrels, when you have a man from the DNR that says that they are not broken open, and then they have to put it in the Muskegon Chronicle on the front page that, hey, look at all the barrels broken open. Well, in that picture was my wife's first husband. He had already had cancer for 3 years and was dying, and he died 10 years after that picture. And he was given an 80% chance to live. So, you know, it's very heartbreaking on my end, because it's very frustrating to have to live a life like I live in a third world country, because I can't get people to agree on doing what's right. Now, the DNR, they will fight you, they will call you names, they'll do anything. They submitted a document this thick to the EPA. They couldn't even get the street addresses right. They had them all out of order. They said they sampled a well at a home next to me, and it's a wooded lot. There is no home. And in fact, the facts are this is all unbelievable.
I understand it. But maybe tonight, if we could, if the board would be interested, would certainly have contact Grand Valley. If you're willing, they would come out and test your water.
But
As far as the whole water getting run down to your home on Strand Road, that would take some board action to vote on that.
Right, I understand that. But you also voted that you would test wells in suspect areas, and those things were never done.
What year was that?
That was probably 2001, around there.
I can certainly go back and look at the minutes of that.
And so all those new homes on Russell should have been tested. All the new homes on my road should have been tested. All the new roads on homes on Tyler and all around that area should have been tested.
I know that the county's test is rather basic, but those...
They will go to the DNR. And that is another part of the problem. If you're looking to suppress the truth, if you can't even respond to a fire chief call because you're afraid to go to the address, I mean, what's up with that?
If you can access this test for see if there's any types of patterns. But Michigan State or Grand Valley or both, can you do a sample in a geographic area?
Now, as far as my water, I'm totally really unsure. But all I know is that every spring this nice silver substance likes to come up out of the kitchen sink. I also know that it likes to eat everything.
Out of the water?
The water will eat everything. It will eat your plastic sink. It will eat all the faucet hardware. It will disintegrate it. That can't be good.
I can't comment on any of these
It's
opinions until we would, I would say, a water sample would come back from Grand Valley, Michigan State.
Right. But the truth is, there is a Class A carcinogen in my backyard over the health limit, over the cleanup requirement, that the DNR dismissed in '94 and said was contaminated at the laboratory and never came back for retesting. Now, if you have suspect things, and you're submitting this to the EPA for a Superfund site, and you can't even tell if the samples are real or not, then, you know, and then give them this big old thick document, and the guy that was blamed for the dumping, they said was dead when he was alive. I mean, there's a site 1 and 2. Where are those? Now, by the railroad tracks on Russell, somebody dug up a bunch of test wells and put a home on it, right on top of the test wells. Now, if I have to go to every one of these homes and talk to them and bring them down here with me, I'm sure you would really like that. But what I'd rather do is just deal with me because I'm the guy that knows. In fact, one of the people came to me that was an inspector and said, we want to build 100 homes between Russell and Central Road, and I was told you were the man to talk to about pollution. You know, I'm just a citizen. Who am I? And he goes, what do you think? I said, you're nuts without city water. Well, they're filling them in. And that's, to me, that is negligence. Will always be negligence until the water comes down the road. Now, I will appreciate any and all help you give me. I will appreciate any suggestions you can do to remedy the situation. But one way or another, if I have to run for office, that's what I'll do. That's what it takes to get the water down my road. And I won't be nice about it. That's all I got to say.
I had weird notes and that's very real. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Thank you. My name is Dan Mills, and I'm in 1817 Mills Avenue, mill Klein, 445. Thanks for giving me all the time. Anyway, this isn't quite as life and death, but I'm here to talk about the jail, the new jail plans as well in the county of Muskegon. And what my friend Matt said is true, that please take a look at the derailthejail.org website if you get a chance, because they're not just facts and figures, there's plenty of videos where you can see the county administrator herself explaining why they want this new jail, packing them in, and it's a resource generator, a revenue generator, and that's what she said, clear as a day. And the plan is to build it so big and stack the cells up, because then they do, she calls it partnerships with state and regional partnerships, and that means there's no room for visitation, there's no room for consulting with your attorney. It's all flat screen, and so people from all over the state reside here in our county, and then we get the revenue. At least a small number of people profit highly off of this, say a chicken coop, and fill it up, and a few people get rich that way. And in the meantime, lay off all the employees, regular employees, and you have a place that's just as fragmented as the one is now. The administrator, you can see the chairperson of this jail committee exclaiming that it's horrible for words in violation of state codes, in violation of human rights. Wouldn't bring her Pomeranian in the current jail, 400 and some beds, and this was her justification for a new one. If you can imagine, you had somebody with a rental property or something like that, and it was so poorly maintained that it was in violation of codes and ethics and things like that, that you would buy her another one, a bigger one, and so the whole thing was flagged for no basic reason. Please take a look. Now, you might wonder, why in the world are we appealing to you? It's a county affair, maybe. County board, and here's the reason. This is a different world from when I grew up. When I grew up, we had competition in the news media. There's stuff back here would be in the news. We would hear about it, and that is what would save democracy. There's a free media. We don't have that. We have two brothers. They sit on the board of advanced publications. They own the Muskegon Chronicle and all the newspapers in the country. It's a capitalism. The United States of America used to stand for democracy. It doesn't anymore. It stands for capitalism, and that's the bottom line, man, and we all pay for it.
Couldn't get any media to help me.
I should talk to you. Anyway, in a democracy, for democracy to actually function, for the people to actually have the power, our Constitution grants us that power, and that authority comes only at the cost of the responsibility. We have to become involved. We have to educate ourselves. It isn't easy anymore, because we can't just watch the news. We can't just read the paper. We have to find the truth somehow, some other way. On the internet, please visit derailthejail.org. We have to inform ourselves, and then we have to take a stand. It doesn't mean that our responsibility, our civic duty, just comes at the voting day when we pull the trigger on an 11 or something like that. It's way more than that. Our responsibility, our civic duty, means each and every one of us has to become informed and has to take action on what we know to be true. Now, I know a lot of people get into political office for different reasons. I've met people who get into political office because they see their position as a position of power and prestige. Other people get into political office because they see that position as a position of responsibility and trust. I don't know any of that. Thank you.